Funding for the production of Folks is made possible in part by the Friends of Louisiana Public Broadcasting.
Everybody's just folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just people all over the world. Folks to live, folks got to give, folks got to care, ooh, folks got to share. Our world is small, so very small. What touches one of all, ooh, touches us all. To stay alive, just to survive, folks got to be in harmony. Everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody's just folks, everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody's just folks.
Hello and welcome to Folks. I'm Sharon Elizabeth Sexton, producer of Folks, and tonight we're coming to you live from the LPB studios in Baton Rouge with a special call-in program on crime. The topic tonight is crime, law enforcement, and anything else that you want to talk about. We hope that you will be calling our studios tonight, and we will be giving you the number in just a few minutes. Our special guest tonight to talk about crime and what's going on in the state with law enforcement are, to my right, Garland Smith, the administrative assistant with the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. Welcome to Folks, Garland. And to my left is Reverend Lionel Johnson, who is the chief administrator with the Iberville Parish Sheriff's Office. To my far right is Major Reginald Brown, administrative assistant with the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office. Welcome to Folks, gentlemen, on this very first special program where we're having a call-in. I don't know about the people and the viewers at home, but I feel extremely safe at this particular point. I don't know, I guess it's just having you strong, healthy law enforcement officers around me. But we get a very, very, I guess, distorted view, the public, of what is actually happening with the police. Is law enforcement today anything like it's portrayed on TV?
Sharon, I think you might look at Hill Street Blues. I think that's one of the best portrayals of what police work is actually like. You've got plainclothesmen working, you've got investigators working, and undercover people working the streets, exactly where the crime is.
So I guess one of the things that we have problems with, as far as us as a community, what does the police department do besides go and, knock on your door and arrest you if you haven't paid a police ticket or, go to an accident?
Well, most officers today are concerned with preventive law enforcement, and that means that you've got to program to the extent that you reach the community in a positive way and cause them to believe that it's more important for the entire citizenry for them not to commit the crime, but rather to live civilly and do the kinds of things that cause the community to be enhanced.
Okay, one of the things I guess that we really are wondering about, what are the streets really like? We always hear that the crime rate is going up, the unemployment rate is going up. What is actually happening out there on the streets? Is it as dangerous as we are led to believe?
It's that and more in most instances, Sharon. It's the fight for survival. And during these hard economic times that we're experiencing presently, it's quite difficult to try to make it out there on the streets. And we as law enforcement personnel have the responsibility of securing the community and the people and trying to, as Lionel said, take some preventive measures for these type of situations.
One of the questions probably some of our viewers are asking is, what kinds of preventive measures are the police departments taking? Because there seems to be, I don't know about in your community, but in my community, I see kind of like a division line between the police department and the community. And there's kind of like a question as to whether the police are out there actually trying to help out the community or, what's happening.
Well, there's a neighborhood watch program that's nationwide where police agencies go into different communities and hold meetings with the citizens of the neighborhood or the community and explain exactly what's happening in the community and ask for their support. And so far, the community has been real responsive to the Neighborhood Watch program.
Okay. About 15 years ago, minorities were being recruited, or at least started being recruited by Louisiana police departments in order to get minority representation on the police departments. What is happening? All of you are more or less on the force now as a result of that community action to get more blacks on the force. Is there an improved relationship now between the black community and the police department as a result of you being there?
I think it is, Sharon. I think as a result of more blacks being employed in law enforcement generally, it does make a difference as far as enforcement, preventive measures, and other means of law enforcement are being focused on in the community now. And then you say the police department, sheriff's office, I'd like to explain the difference. The police departments generally a municipal capacity, a municipal body that more or less patrol within the city limits of a particular city, whereas the sheriff, being the chief law enforcement officer of any parish, has the responsibility of the overall parish and the citizen body.
Okay, let's just get into some cases as far as law enforcement. I have, in talking to several people in the community, and I'm going back to a question which I asked earlier as far as there being a division between, let's say, the law enforcement community and the community that it's supposed to be protecting, and in particular the black community. Some people feel as though the police department is not there to help out those people who live in the black community. That's supposedly where most, if not the majority of crimes are committed. The black men who live in the black community, okay, we're talking about, let's say, the prison population, 80% is composed of minorities, usually black men in Louisiana. And people are thinking that the law enforcement agency might be just, picking on, like, the black community, or at least that's how it's perceived in many instances. Algiers down in New Orleans is one instance where, like, there is some question of police brutality against a certain group of people. Can we have somebody address that?
Well, I think that to a great extent that it's a kind of misinterpretation of the relationship of police officers or law enforcement officers with the communities. Of course, if you've got to arrest somebody, people normally will take a hostile view of that. But it's an obligation, it's a responsibility. You take the oath of office and you must do it. But I don't believe that at this juncture, at this time, that the problem is that serious, for the simple reason that most law enforcement officers have had community relations programs, and we continue to advance this kind of concept. And as a result, we get a greater a better relationship with the community, and of course eliminates a whole lot of that friction that exists.
Anybody else? Is there any kind of racial tension then that exists? At one time there seemed to be some racial tension that existed between the police departments and the black community in particular.
I think, Sharon, in the black community, basically, there was a time where law enforcement was somewhat resented, and because of some of the biased things that you spoke of. But now I think, now in the black community, the conditions are such that persons are asking for better law enforcement. There's also a standard that we refer to as a dual standard of justice, and that sort of help breeds black on black crime. And persons in the community want that standard eliminated, because there's a time that you can take black that would walk up and say, well, I just killed another black, I ripped off another black, and nothing's going to be done to me. And to that extent today, blacks in the community as well as law enforcement want that eliminated. And the only way it can be eliminated is if we are there to address the problem and see that the enforcement procedures are followed through to the utmost.
But what about the fact that, okay, in our prison population, I'm sure you can look in your own jails and your own parishes, that the majority, the overwhelming majority of those people who are in jail, who are incarcerated, are black?
I think that goes back to, we could put more persons in jail. I'm not a firm believer of putting everybody in jail for at least a little crime that they commit. I think that a little more preventive measures, as Lionel referred to, would be the better course of action. And then for the more serious offenses, and second and third offenders should be incarcerated. Of course, going back to addressing what you're saying, that is true. 80% of our prisons are made up of black individuals. And I think if you would go back and it would be researched, some of those are carryovers from some years past. And we can't correct the past year's injustices at this point, but we can begin to address the needs by putting those persons in jail now that need to be placed there.
Okay, and Garland, I know that you do handle the prison population on a one-to-one basis as far as you dealing with those prisoners in the population. What are criminals like nowadays? I have been told by those who are incarcerated that the criminal out on the street is meaner, tougher, and will commit more brutal crimes than they did, let's say, 10, 20 years ago.
I'll admit it's totally different from 10 years ago. When you look at the prison situation, we find that the prisons are graduate schools for crimes. We send inmates there, and they get receive an advanced degree in criminal techniques. It's hard to say, but there's no way to really combat the crime unless everybody's involved: the community, the churches, and different institutions. The prisons themselves aren't the answers. And the people that are in the street that commit crimes, once they're sent to prison, again, they come back even more advanced than they were when they were out in the streets.
Then if our prison system is not working, why then are we building more of these institutions, incarcerating more of these people, if they're in fact going in for another degree and being criminals?
Well, I think it's very simple. You cannot allow people to continue to commit crimes against the persons of others and allow them to stay on the street. Laws are on the books and you must enforce them. However, I think that both Garland and Reginald are correct. To a great extent, the crime has nothing to do with the jails. It's primarily the community and the circumstances from which the criminal comes from. And until we improve those circumstances, we're going to continue to fill our jails up. We did a survey quite recently in our jail and found that most, if not all, of our inmates, irrespective of age, were at about the 8th grade level, which means that education has a whole lot to do with it as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, in your relationship with other officers in your departments, has there been very much of a change in the attitude of, let's say, the department toward the community or toward that criminal element, since crimes now seem to be a lot more brutal than they used to be?
I think so, Sharon. First of all, I think the deputies or law enforcement personnel take more of a positive approach and dedicate themselves to working a little closer in the community to address the needs. And they can better serve the community by doing just that, working closer with people and being present in the community more than what they have been. Visibility means a lot, not just from a preventive standpoint, but it means a lot to the persons in the community as far as a security standpoint.
Okay. We have a call from our studio audience. Let's take that call. Hello, do we have a call?
All right. Hi, Sharon. This is Bobby Miles.
Hello, how you doing?
I'd like to ask Major Reginald Brown about the Sunday closing, Sunday liquor law. Why is it in the black community you are able to buy alcohol on Sundays when it's against the law? It is in the black community you can buy alcohol any Sunday morning that you wish.
Well, let me address that question first by saying the laws for the restrictions as it relates to selling liquor in the community is regulated by the ABC Board of East Baton Rouge Parish, and they are given certain license permits that allow them to sell liquor, which should be based upon the fact, the amount of food that they sell in a particular business. So we regulate them according to the way they are licensed. If they have the proper license, then we have no way or any means of prohibiting them from selling the liquor. So I think the ABC board of East Baton Rouge Parish would have to address that, and certainly if they were to contact us and let us know that this person was illegally selling liquor and didn't have the proper license, then we would be able to take the necessary action.
Okay. I think one of the things that maybe this caller was trying to get to in a subtle way is that perhaps the black community is treated differently than the white community or vice versa in the enforcement of certain things such as liquor laws or whatever.
Well, of course, Sharon.
Reginald said earlier that there's a major change, and I agree that there is. The caller indicates also to me that blacks are more concerned about what goes on in our communities. And certainly we take the position that the law ought to be enforced to the hilt in our community, not necessarily in a brutal way, but in such a fashion that those who are responsible for committing crimes, providing circumstances that will allow crimes to be be treated and dealt with positively and actively.
Okay. We have another caller. Can we hear your question, please?
Yes. This question is directed to all of the members of the panel on the show this evening.
Okay.
Most of the people that you arrest, and since you're representatives of the community, are people from your community. Now, in the idea of preventive crime, what do you do in following up the results of your arrest and the incarceration of your prisoners or the people that you've arrested in state institutions such as Angola or the forensic division at the state hospital, to see that these people are helped, and in turn your community is helped?
Well, first I'd like to address the question by indicating that we do not have divisions in our office with reference to who's arrested by who. We go in the white community as well as in the black community, and of course we deal across the board with all criminals. But I think that if we're going to address the needs of the black community, you ought to know that we have established diversionary programs in our office. That's one way of trying to help. Secondly, we have various agencies within the parish, within the state, which are called referral agencies that we send our people to. I want to admit that there isn't a whole lot that we can do until such time that we are able to have the kind of impact on the legislature and, of course, the state that would result in the establishment of programs that would result in rehabilitation.
Okay, we have another call.
Yes, I have this question for Major Brown. Okay, this was pertaining to the question that Cheryl asked about the racial problem downtown. Okay, I would like to ask about the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff Department pertaining Brownsville area, the far Perkins Road area. Okay, whenever there's a unit dispatched, there's always a white officer that always comes out. Okay, you never get a black officer or sheriff deputy in an area like that. And I would like to know why. This seems to be a problem in the Baton Rouge area.
First of all, that's news to me, because in Brownsville, we staffed the Brownsville operation with black deputies. We have them in Scotlandville, we have them at Klein Peter, we have them in Eden Park, we have them at all of the substations. And the way a call is handled and dispatched is according to the person who's available to answer the call at the time, depending on the area it's in. But in Eden Park, we have all black deputies patrolling in Eden Park. And to the best of my knowledge, and I'm right close to the source, and on top of it in Brownsville, we have black deputies, and as I indicated in the other areas. So the calls are just handled as they come received into communications, and the available unit is dispatched.
Okay, it's interesting. First of all, I apologize for not at least giving some background on our panelists, but Garland Smith, who is sitting next to me, is the administrative assistant, the third man, more or less, in charge of the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. Major Brown is more or less second in charge as being the administrative assistant for the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, and Reverend Lionel Johnson is second in command over at the Iberville Parish Sheriff's Department. We had another panelist who was supposed to be on, and he couldn't make it because of his points of view may not coincide with his department's points of view. What kinds of pressure are you under to not speak out against the system in which you work under?
Sharon, Sheriff Amos has allowed me all of the latitude, I think, that could be allowed to anyone to operate and make the certain decisions that have to be made within East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, and I bring those to him on a daily basis.
Okay, but what about regular kinds of race relations? Like, is everything all nice and good and hunky-dory and everything behind closed doors at your different offices?
Well, I would admit that we have some problems, but they don't relate to race problems. They relate sometimes to personality conflicts, but I don't see us having a racial problem in the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office.
Okay, Garland?
There are no restraints on us with the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Department either. Attitudinal problems, but no racial problems per se.
Okay, we have another caller.
I have the responsibility of developing rules and regulations for the office which affect all personnel. And of course, I've never been rebuffed by the sheriff. Not total control, but total responsibility in my office. And of course, I couldn't envision that it would be of any significance to the sheriff that I would say something that might not meet with his kind of philosophy.
Okay. I think we have another caller.
Yes. Hello?
Hello. May we have your question,
My question to the officers and Reverend Johnson was, since they do have access to a lot of information in the police department concerning the new slaying in Algiers, do you by any chance have any information or feel to believe that those people were murdered because of a cover-up in the police department, that they would, these people were involved in drugs, the police officers particularly who were involved in the slaying?
I think you addressed that question to me. I feel that this situation has been evaluated very carefully by both the local, the state, and the federal authorities. And I think that the results reveal that there is some belief that perhaps some illegal acts might have resulted. As a matter of fact, the indictments themselves suggest that. But I could not give the kind of evaluation that would suggest that they were actually guilty. I think that the courts will ultimately determine that.
Okay, we are almost out of time, but there's one thing I would like to ask. There's 64 parishes in the state of Louisiana, and none of them have a black sheriff as of yet. You three are near the top. Do you think that anytime soon that there will be a black sheriff in Louisiana?
Well, Sharon, I want to correct you. We do have one black sheriff. He's a civil sheriff in New Orleans, Sheriff Valto. We don't have a black criminal sheriff as of yet, and I think the time is coming where we will have a black sheriff. I couldn't say what parish it would be in, but I think the times will determine that, and as well as persons in the parishes. And I think we have exemplified the amount of ability and attitudes that will sort of pave the way for that in the future.
Okay. Just, like one quick wrap up. What is happening out in the streets, and like the people at home, how can they get in touch with their local police or sheriff's department should they need help?
Well, again, the Neighborhood Watch program has been a good program for the Natchitoches Parish area. We go out to churches, different community functions, and present the program, leaving them telephone numbers to get in touch with the sheriff department. And again, working with everybody in the neighborhood. Neighbors have come to the point that they're willing to work with sheriff departments and police departments in reporting crime and what have you. So there are ways, and mainly through the Neighborhood Watch program. And in our parish, we've got resident-type deputies deputies in different neighborhoods that the people know on a personal basis. So they can contact the sheriff department a lot of times through these deputies.
Okay, we'd like to get just one quick question in before we go off the air. Can we have your question, please?
Okay, I wanted to know, do they have a program or something where they get behind black people when you live in an all-black area, and when you know of someone that is black, then breaking into homes, or you know they broke into your home, or you know of someone's home they've broken into, do they have some kind of a thing where they get behind black people to tell them someone breaks in your home, it's not your brother, and that you shouldn't be, afraid or embarrassed or what, if you know of someone that's doing this, to turn them over to the police?
Okay,
yes, there is a way. Most, if not all, departments have informants. And of course, you don't necessarily have to reveal yourself. You can remain anonymous. That's one way. Garland has indicated another way, the Neighborhood Watch Program. And of course, then there are those who would step boldly and provide the information. And of course, beyond that, it's up to the department to have the kind of patrol that is going to result in the apprehension of those who commit the crimes.
Okay. Well, we are at the end of our half hour, and I'd like to thank all of you for coming on the program tonight. If there's one thing I hope that the community, the viewers, have gotten from us tonight is that, there are concerned individuals on your local police and sheriff's departments and offices who do care about you out there in the community. And we have 3 representatives tonight who are just like one, I guess, the tip of the iceberg. So if you have any problems, please call. Like if you need some people, here's Garland Smith. If you're up in North Louisiana, Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. We also have Major Reginald Brown from the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office. And we also have Reverend Lionel Johnson from the Iberville Parish Police or Sheriff's Office. I was told earlier they're not called departments, they're called offices. And does anybody want to get in one quick last?
Yes, Sharon, I'd like to say that I think I speak for Lionel and the rest of them. We'd like to encourage all persons for Trick or Treat, which is scheduled for the various parishes. In East Baton Rouge Parish is November 1st, to ask parents to refrain from letting their kids go outside of the area for Trick or Treat. Keep them right in your own neighborhood if you have to carry them out.
Okay, and that's a shame too to have to request that.
I'd like for our people to know that we will provide optimum patrol on that particular night, and of course if they have need of patrol, just call in.
Okay, I'm sure that wherever you live, if it's in the other parishes other than represented here, they do have some kind of safety procedure for Halloween. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week on Folks.
Funding for the production of Folks is made possible in part by the Friends of Louisiana Public Broadcasting.